Healing is not a straight line. For those of us navigating the aftermath of trauma, this is a truth we know in our bones. But what if the map you're using doesn't match the territory you're in? Today, we're talking about two paths that look similar from a distance, but are vastly different up close. Healing from PTSD and healing from complex PTSD. Understanding this difference isn't just about labels. It's about finding the right tools and giving yourself the right kind of grace for the journey you're actually on. Let's get into the 6 ways healing from PTSD is different than healing from C-PTSD. Number 1, the source of the wound. The first and most fundamental difference lies in the nature of the trauma itself. Healing from PTSD often centers on processing a specific, defined event, or a series of events that occurred over a limited period. This could be a serious accident, a natural disaster, or a violent assault. The event was terrifying and overwhelming, but it had a clear beginning and an end. The work of healing, therefore, often involves addressing that specific memory. It's like dealing with a deep, singular wound. The goal is to clean it, stitch it up, and help the scar tissue form in a way that allows you to regain function and move forward without the memory constantly pulling you back into the past. Healing from C-PTSD, on the other hand, is about addressing trauma that was prolonged and repeated, often occurring over months, years, or even decades. Crucially, it happened in a situation where escape was not possible. Think of childhood neglect, long-term domestic abuse, or being held captive. There wasn't one single event. The trauma was the environment. The wound isn't a single cut. It's 1,000 smaller injuries that have become woven into the very fabric of your being. Healing isn't about processing one memory, but untangling a complex web of experiences, beliefs, and survival mechanisms that you had to build just to get through each day. The focus shifts from what happened that day to what was it like to live that life. Number 2, the impact on identity. When a traumatic event happens to an adult with a relatively stable sense of self, the challenge in PTSD recovery is integrating that horrific event into their life story. The trauma can feel like an alien chapter that doesn't belong. Healing involves helping the brain understand that the event is over and is a part of the past, not the present. It's about reclaiming your identity from the shadow of that one event and remembering who you were before it happened and who you can be after. For C-PTSD, the trauma often occurred during childhood or adolescence, the very time when your identity was being formed. The abuse or neglect wasn't just something that happened to you. It shaped who you became. The messages you received from your abusers, that you were worthless, unlovable, or only valuable when you served their needs, became the building blocks of your self-concept. As a result, healing isn't about getting back to a pre-trauma self, because one may not have fully existed. The healing journey is one of construction, not just repair. It involves dismantling a false identity built on shame and fear, and for the first time, discovering and building a true sense of self. It's asking the question, without the trauma, who am I? And patiently waiting for the answer to emerge. Number 3, the central role of relationships. In healing from PTSD, a strong support system is incredibly helpful. Friends, family, and therapists can provide safety and encouragement as you process the traumatic event. The relationships are supportive of the healing, but they may not be the central focus of the therapy itself. If the trauma was a car crash, for instance, the therapeutic work is about the crash, not necessarily about learning to trust people again. With C-PTSD, the trauma was almost always relational. It was a betrayal by people who were supposed to provide care and safety, parents, partners, or trusted figures. The very foundation of human connection was poisoned. Because of this, healing from C-PTSD is fundamentally a relational process. A huge portion of the work is done in the context of relationships. The first step is often building a safe therapeutic relationship, perhaps the first truly safe connection you've ever had. From there, the journey involves learning what a healthy relationship even looks like. It's about unlearning the idea that love is conditional or that connection leads to pain. It's about learning to set boundaries, trust your own judgment of people, and allow yourself to be vulnerable without expecting to be hurt. For the C-PTSD survivor, learning to have a healthy relationship is not just a part of healing, it is the healing. Number 4, the approach to emotional regulation. Someone with PTSD experiences significant emotional dysregulation. They might have flashbacks, intense anxiety, or fits of anger. These are typically triggered by reminders of the specific traumatic event. The nervous system gets jolted into a fight or flight response because it believes the danger is happening again. Healing involves developing coping strategies to manage these triggers and calm the nervous system when it gets activated. Techniques like grounding can be very effective in reminding the brain that the past danger is not present. For someone with C-PTSD, emotional dysregulation is often a constant, baseline state of being. Because the threat was chronic, their nervous system never learned what calm or safe feels like. It's been operating in survival mode for as long as they can remember. They may not have clear triggers. Sometimes the emotional storm seems to come from nowhere. They may swing between intense emotions and feeling completely numb. Healing, therefore, requires starting from square one. It involves learning to identify what you're feeling, which is a skill that may have never been taught. It's about building tolerance for your own emotions and understanding that they aren't dangerous. It's less about managing triggers and more about building an entire internal system for emotional management from the ground up. It's a slow process of teaching your body a new language of safety. Number 5, the timeline and shape of recovery. Healing from PTSD can sometimes be a more linear process. With effective therapies like EMDR or trauma-focused CBT, individuals can often see measurable progress in a relatively structured time frame. The path has recognizable stages: stabilization, processing the memory, and reintegration. While it's never easy, there's often a clearer roadmap from point A to point B. The recovery journey for CPTSD is a marathon, not a sprint, and the path is almost never straight. It's a long, winding road with hills, valleys, and frequent U-turns. Because the trauma is woven into personality, relationships, and core beliefs, healing involves unlearning deeply ingrained patterns of thinking and behaving. There will be periods of great progress, followed by moments where old wounds feel raw again. This isn't a sign of failure. It's the nature of this specific kind of healing. It requires immense patience and self-compassion. You are not just healing from something that happened. You are healing from the person you had to become to survive it. This kind of deep, transformative work doesn't follow a schedule. It unfolds at its own pace, layer by painful layer. Number 6, the focus on the body, somatic or body-based. Therapies are beneficial for both PTSD and C-PTSD. Trauma gets stored in the body, and talking alone isn't always enough to release it. For PTSD, somatic work can help discharge the immense survival energy that got frozen in the nervous system during the event. It helps the body complete the defensive responses it couldn't at the time. For C-PTSD survivors, somatic work is not just beneficial, it is absolutely essential. When you grow up in a state of constant threat, your body becomes a cage of tension. You might hold your breath, keep your shoulders hunched, or have chronic pain. You learn to disconnect from your body's signals because they were too overwhelming. Healing from C-PTSD requires a gentle and slow process of coming back home to your body. It's about learning to inhabit your own skin and feel safe there. It's about noticing sensations without judgment, learning to breathe deeply, and allowing your nervous system to finally stand down from high alert. It's a journey of befriending the body that carried you through so much and finally letting it rest. This physical release of stored trauma is what allows for true, lasting emotional healing to take root. Understanding these differences is the first step toward finding the right kind of support for your unique journey. Both paths require incredible courage. Whether your wound is a single, deep gash or 1,000 scars, your healing is possible. If this video helped you feel seen or understood in any way, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more content just like this. And now I'd love to hear from you. Which one of these points resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Reading through the experiences of others can be a powerful reminder that none of us are alone on this path.